Welcome back to the challenge. It's day 26. Today, we're going to be talking about marketing your webinars. I know a lot of people have questions about how can I market my webinar so I constantly get new people coming to my automated webinar. So I'm going to be teaching you my techniques, teaching you some things that you can implement, both free and paid, to allow you to bring in new attendees, new registrants for your webinars. Now, the things I'm going to be teaching you are going to be applicable whether you run a automated webinar or a live webinar, okay? So you can use these tips with any kind of marketing effort for your webinars. Okay, I'm going to jump into my PowerPoint slides. I created some slides for you, and I'll be talking over them, so I'll see you on the presentation. Okay, I'll see you in a second. All right, we're in the presentation, and we're going to be talking about 8 ways to market your webinar. I'm going to show you how you can market your webinar, whether it's live or automated, so you can get new registrants and new attendees to your webinar constantly on autopilot, so that way you're getting new audiences. The thing about webinars that you need to remember is that if you can nail a great webinar, a great workshop, you don't need to create so many. You can have 2 or 3 workshops that you play with, whether they're live or automated, and then you just get new people to see it, new audiences to get the value. Okay, and this is what we're trying to do. We're going to create great automated webinar. This is what we've been doing for the last 30 days, great workshop, and now we're going to just get more and more people to get that value so you can build those trusts, build the trust, build the relationships, and of course, get those leads and sales. Okay, let's get into it. All right. So there are 8 ways that you can market your webinars. The first one is totally easy, totally a give me. Inside of Webinar Ninja, we have something called the Webinar Finder. So anytime you publish a webinar publicly, you get listed on the Webinar Finder, right? If you go to webinarninja.com, you will see a little link up on top in the menu called Webinar Finder. And you'll see all the webinars that are listed on the Finder. And this is sort of a search engine for webinars that we've built to help you get more attendees. So people go to the Webinar Finder on a daily basis. We have lots of people that just find webinars that they're interested in. There's different categories, all kinds of stuff, okay? So there's not much you have to do here. All you got to do is just publish your webinar publicly and you get listed in the Webinar Finder. So you are automatically going to get some marketing juice just by using Webinar Ninja for your webinars. Just a little something that we built to help our users get more attendees. Let's move on to the second one. Start at home. This is probably the most important one a lot of people neglect. So when I say start at home, the home of your business is your website. This is where people go to figure out if you're worth their money, right? If they want to buy your products and services, to read your blog posts, to understand what you're all about. So what we want to do here is we want to make sure that we take advantage of all that traffic that we're getting, right? It's probably your homepage on your website is probably the most visited page that people go to, right? So what we want to do is we want to make sure that our webinar is front and center, okay? So there are many things we can do, all right? We can make it one of the navigational menus on top in the header of our website. So we can literally say, hey, free training, free webinar, right? And they click that link and that links to your registration page for your automated webinar. We want to make sure that anytime somebody gets to our website, they are exposed to our webinar, right? There's great tools that you can use like sumo.com that have pop-ups. If you're using something like Intercom, like a chat messenger, you could definitely prompt that messenger to say, hey, I have a webinar you can check out. And you give them a link to the webinar. The point here is that we want to make sure that the link to the webinar is on our website. If we have a blog on the right or left-hand column of the blog, make sure you have a link to your actual webinar. You could put an image and a button and say, hey, check out my webinar, register here to learn about XYZ. Sell the webinar on your website, anywhere that you can kind of advertise. See it as like a product. You know, if you had a product for sale on your website, this is what you would do. You'd put it on your blog, right or left-hand column. You would have a link to it on your website. You would have maybe a hello banner that says, hey, check out our product. All these things are very, very useful. If you want to use an exit pop-up, before they go and say, hey, go ahead and register for my webinar to learn more about what we do or our products or our services. So there are a lot of tools. We recommend Sumo. It's very easy to use, sumo.com. It works on every single website out there. And you can use all those kinds of things like the exit pop-ups and the hello bar and all that kind of things. They even have like a chat you can even use with automated messages. But the easiest thing you could do if you just want to do this right now, literally in minutes, is just literally make it one of your menu items in your navigation menu up top in your website and just link to your registration page for your automated webinar, okay? So I'm just gonna cut right back to my account right here so you could see the share button is right here on your automated webinar. Hit share and you can just copy the link. This is the link you're gonna use to drive everybody to your registration page for your automated webinar. That's simple, okay? Also on our website, you'll see the webinar finder, one I just mentioned, number one. And then when you go to the webinar finder, you will see all the different webinars that are featured, and your webinar will show up here and people can search for it. They can go by category. They can see all the different categories we have, all that kind of stuff. So again, you could check out the webinar finder and you can find your webinar once you publish it here where you get, automatic marketing. So make sure you have your webinar link on your website, especially the homepage, so that you can get registrants automatically. You're getting traffic anyway to your website. People are finding you through Google, going to your website, make them aware of your webinar, and you're going to get ongoing traffic to that automated webinar because people are going to your website every day. All right. Number 3 is you're going to invite your audience. Make sure that when you create this webinar, you're going to launch in a few days, that you invite everybody on your email list. Doesn't matter if your email list is 100 people or 100,000. You have to let them know that, hey, you have a new workshop, sell them on the workshop. This is what you're going to learn. There's a special offer. Craft a great email that you can blast out. Okay. Not only are we going to do one campaign every single time we run a webinar, whether it's the automated webinar that we just launched, we're going to launch in a few days, or when you run a live webinar, or when you create a whole new workshop for your next automated webinar, right? You're going to obviously notify them. But what we're also going to do is that we're going to include an invite to any sequence we have with our audience. For example, if you have on your website a way for them to subscribe to your newsletter, and you give them like an automatic email that says, hey, thanks for subscribing, here's a little goodie, have another email that goes out a couple of days later inviting them to your automated webinar, right? You want everybody that opts in to automatically get an invite, right, at some point. That means that every time somebody opts in for something else on your website, whether your newsletter or a freebie like an ebook or whatever it is, or a PDF, they're also getting invited to your automated webinar, okay? So that means every time somebody new comes into your list, they get exposure to your webinar, and you fill your webinars on autopilot. So make it a part of all your sequences. Look at all the sequences you have with your email marketing software, whether you're using MailChimp, Aweber, Infusionsoft, whatever it is. When somebody subscribes to your email list, what information are they getting? If they're not getting any information, if they're just saying thank you for subscribing, make your first email, hey, attend my webinar. I've created it. There's a few times you can choose from. Here it is. Here's all the information about it. Here's the offer, all that kind of stuff. So inviting your audience is critical, not only once you launch the webinar, but ongoing. Make sure you're inviting them as they opt into your list. Number 4, team up, okay? Nobody builds a business alone, right? I would not be here today if it wasn't for all the relationships I was fortunate enough to build with other people in my industry. For example, back in 2012, one of the communities I was part of online was a website called Think Traffic by a man named Corbett Barr. Corbett is a fantastic blogger, and he turned that blog into a whole business, which is now called Fizzle. And I was a part of the Fizzle community as well, and I was a big member there, and I was a big contributor. And I built those relationships inside of Fizzle with so many different entrepreneurs that I teamed up with. When I say team up, I help them, they help me. So for example, when they did a product launch, I would tell my audience, hey, there's a new product that's out on the market. It does X, Y, Z. This is my buddy, John Corcoran, who's doing this. I tell them about it. And in exchange, John will do the same thing for me. I can say to them, he can say to his audience, hey, Omar is running a webinar. This is the webinar. You can choose from many times. It's automated. Here is the an offer that he's going to also mention. If you are interested in this area, check it out. So you're leveraging other people's audiences, right? Like audiences, people that would be interested in what you have. So make sure you're teaming up with other people, even if it's just one person, okay? This is a huge, huge advantage in your marketplace when you can do this. So if you ever go to a meetup, if you ever go to a conference or have been to a conference, look at the people that you met. Look at the industries they are and reach out to them. Hey, do you want to team up and collaborate and cross-promote each other's businesses? I would be happy to help you out. This is what I just launched, an automated webinar that's on this topic. Would you think your audience would be interested in that? So definitely this is one of the best things I did in my business and helped me grow my audience, is teaming up with other people. I also am fortunate enough to now team up with Corbett Barr, the guy that I was a part of his community at Fizzle and things like that. And we're doing a webinar in a few weeks with the Fizzle community because I've built that relationship and I was able to add value to that community as a member and all that kind of stuff. And Corbett is a fantastic person to partner up with, because he has authority, he has credibility, and I can leverage that authority and credibility when I present my webinar to them. They're like, hey, Corbett's cool, and if he recommends this, then it must be good. So teaming up is very, very powerful. All right, number 5, write about it. Once you launch this automated webinar, one of the things you can do to promote it is write a blog post. If you're not blogging, you should be blogging. Blogging is not dead. It's alive and well. And actually, it's showing that, it's surviving the test of time, because it's still the number one way to grow your business in terms of search engine optimization. If you write great content, it's going to be found and people search for it on Google. And it's a great way to get people onto your website. Okay, so when you write a blog post, it really, really helps. Okay, so for example, I'm going to run a webinar on increasing your free throw shooting, right? I'm going to write a whole blog post about, the importance of this when free throw shooting matters the most, critical moments in the game. Maybe I'll reference some times where people missed critical free throws. If you remember when I was growing up, I think one of the times was the Orlando Magic. Nick Anderson missed 4 free throws that cost them game 1 of the finals. So I might reference that in the blog post and things like that. And at the end of the blog post of giving them a really cool write-up, I say, hey, if you're interested in this topic, then register for my webinar. It's all about how to increase your free throw shooting by 10%. And I put a link there. Now, what's great about this is not only am I advertising my webinar through a great piece of content on my blog, and when I launch my webinar, people are going to go to that blog post. I can reference that blog post. But every time somebody searches on Google and looks for information on free throw shooting, they're going to find my blog, they're going to read the blog, and then they're going to go to my webinar because they see the link at the bottom. So you can see how this is an evergreen way to constantly market your webinar with great content. So make sure you write a blog post to market your webinar, your automated webinar that you're creating or have created and will be launching soon. All right, let's move on to number 6. Get social. A lot of people think that social media should be number 1. Well, as you can see, it's not number 1 on my list, but I do believe that social media has its place. So make sure you actually engage people in conversation on social media about your topic. We talked about this before when you're choosing a topic for your webinar, but you can continue to do that. Engage people in conversation. Say, hey, what's the most difficult aspect of free throw shooting do you find? Is it the nerves? Is it the sound of the crowd? Is it the pressure of the moment? What is it? And you can really focus in and have a discussion around that topic, right? Instead of just pitching and say, hey, I'm running a webinar, here's a link, right? Have some discussion, get social on social media, whether it's in groups or on your profile, whether it's on Twitter or Facebook or in LinkedIn or whatever it is, okay? Get social, have a discussion, have people engaged, and then later on, after, maybe 5-10 comments, you can say, I love all the conversation. By the way, I have a great a webinar that I've created on this topic if you're interested. Here's a link. People are going to be more invested and be more willing to go to that webinar because they have buy-in. They've engaged with you on social. They've already kind of participated in the conversation. So get social first before you start sharing your link. This strategy has been really helpful for me because I allow people to invest a little bit, and I invest in that conversation before I start, blasting my link. All right, let's move on to number 7. Incentivize. There's no secret that we all work on incentives, okay? But you can incentivize people to go and register for your webinar. So for example, you could say, I'm giving out a great handout, a book, access to a video, whatever it is that you're going to be giving out for free on the webinar as your handout. Say it. Say, hey, I'm giving this away. Register for the webinar so you can get access, right? So tell them what they're going to get. Give them some sort of bonus. okay, some sort of exclusive, and let them know what that exclusive is going to be. Okay, some people just think it's going to be a regular webinar or same old content. Tell them no, I'm actually giving a lot of value. I'm also going to give a great bonus, right? I'm also going to show you how you can do X, Y, and Z. So the point here is that you want to incentivize them in all your copy, whether it's in social or your blog posts or your teaming up with other people, or you're inviting your audience, or anything that you talk about this webinar. Let them know, hey, and by the way, I'm giving away a free ebook. I'm giving away a free checklist on how to do better webinars. In my case, is the checklist I give, or a pre-webinar checklist to make sure you have everything sorted before you go live. This is extremely helpful, and it's also it creates a sense of value before they even register. Oh, that's pretty cool. I'll register and watch to get that value. So incentivize. Don't be afraid to do that. It really helps people, and it also sells your webinar a little bit better. All right, number 8, paid marketing. Okay. Paid marketing is definitely an option you can use. I've used paid marketing to increase our attendance on webinars and registrations and all that. But I want to say that it's number 8 for a reason, okay? I really think that you should exhaust all 7 first. Do those first, because that's low-hanging fruit. You can get a lot of ongoing attendees and registrants for your webinar easily, okay, through these first 7. And then you move on to 8, because 8 is going to cost you some money, and it's going to be a little bit trickier than the other 7. The other 7, you have a lot of control over your results. 8, it's a little bit different, and we'll talk about paid marketing in detail next. But I want to say, don't move on to number 8 until you've done at least 4 or 5 of the first 7, okay? And we'll talk about homework and at the end as well, what you're going to do for homework when it comes to marketing. But let's talk about paid marketing in a little detail. Okay, so these are my tips when it comes to paid marketing, and I'm going to go through each one. These are very, very important. The first one is, I want you to start with a small budget. Don't start with thousands of dollars. It's an easy way. Paid marketing is an easy way for you to lose a lot of money. Okay, I know this. I learned this the hard way. Okay, you want to start with a small budget so you can really fine-tune exactly what you're doing here. You want to fine-tune, the actual ad. You want the audience, everything. You want to make sure that, hey, it cost me X amount of dollars to get a conversion. Let me just then increase the budget a little bit. But if you start with a lot of money, it's easy to kind of lose all your money without knowing what you're doing. So start with a small budget. I recommend $20 a day for 5 days. So that's like $100, okay? If you don't feel comfortable parting with $100 to try paid marketing, then you're not ready for paid marketing. That's just the honest truth, because I say that because $20 a day is enough for you to have enough money in the game to see some conversions. Any less than that, you're not really going to see any results. Okay, that's just how it is today with marketing. So let's stick to a $20 budget a day for 5 days. That's $100. We can play with that. Once we do that for the first week, then we can see how it's doing. We'll talk about how you can know which ads are doing well and which ones are not, and then you can just double down on the ones that do and increase the budget. Okay, number 2, you're going to run an ad to an instant access value. A lot of people make the mistake where they run their ad straight to the webinar, okay? And I don't recommend this, because it's a lot easier to get the lead based on instant access value. It's hard to kind of get somebody who's unfamiliar with you. This is called cold traffic, right? To get cold traffic to your actual email list. So I recommend you send them with your ad to something that's related to your topic of your webinar, related to the topic of your business, that they can instantly get. So, for example, like a PDF, or a video that they can watch, or a 3-part video series that you have on your website. Some sort of opt-in, some sort of lead magnet that you can create on your website pretty quickly, and you can run a paid ad to it. So that means they can, give their name and email address and get that value instantly, okay? You can definitely do this with a Watch Now webinar, but I have found that it actually does better if it's just an easy opt-in name, email address, and it's not a webinar. I know it sounds strange, but this is what the tests have shown me, that when I run an ad to our Blueprint course, right? We have a Blueprint course on webinarninja.com. It's called Your Webinar Blueprint. It's a 7-part course. It's a video course that we created. It's absolutely free. And from there, we run ads to it so that people can just go ahead, register their name and email address, and they have access to that course instantly, and they can watch it anytime they want. The course also comes with other freebies and things like that. And for some reason, it converts better than me sending them to a webinar. The concept of a webinar for a lot of the audience members is like, okay, it's a little bit different. And it's converted better than me sending me straight to the webinar. The point here is that the webinar is still going to be there, and I'm going to use it, but not now. First, I got to get them on my email list with some instant access, PDF, ebook, a series of videos, whatever it is, okay? And from there, once they're on my email list, once they got that freebie, I'm going to invite them to my webinar. Remember we talked about invite your audience? I'm going to do that. Hey, come to my webinar. Here's the registration page. It gives them extra value, and it primes the pump. It primes them to get to the next point. I actually like this, and I find that, in my opinion, the reason why it converts so well is because they first got to know me with that instant access, with that freebie, with that video, with that PDF, and then from there, I give them a webinar, and they're ready to buy at that point. They're ready to kind of consume the information and convert because I've built a bit of trust before I got them on the webinar. So we capture the lead, and then we invite them. Okay, that's number 3. Capture lead first via the ad, and then we invite them. Number 4, Facebook ads. Number 5, LinkedIn ads. Okay, these are the 2 types of ads I recommend for this purpose. Okay, there's other ways to advertise. When I say Facebook ads, this also includes Instagram because Facebook owns Instagram and runs all its ads through its Facebook manager. Okay, LinkedIn ads are a little bit more pricey. I want to talk about that for a moment. It's B2B, business to business, and they're a bit more pricier than Facebook ads in our experience. But if you are selling to other businesses, LinkedIn ads give you higher quality leads, and this is just what we found. The leads there are just higher quality, and it's going to cost you a bit more, but it's worth looking into, okay? But if you're starting fresh with paid marketing, I highly recommend you just start with Facebook, okay? Start with Facebook. You're going to get a higher conversion. It's easier to kind of get more value from your dollar, okay, without being an expert. So we're going to start with Facebook ads, and my last tip here when it comes to paid marketing is use a tool. If you try to run Facebook ads using, Facebook's, Facebook Business Manager, it's really confusing. You need like a course on its own to learn how to use it and how to upload ads and how to create copy and split tests and convert and conversions and all that kind of stuff, right? It could be overwhelming. So instead of getting lost in the weeds, if you're going to do this yourself rather than hire out for it, I highly recommend you use a tool called Ad Espresso. Ad Espresso is basically a tool that makes Facebook ads and Google ads as well, but we're not talking about that right now, but Facebook ads super simple. What it does is that it allows you to provide, let's say, 5 headlines, 5 pieces of copy, 5 images, and then it actually creates hundreds of different kinds of combinations and split tests all these ads at once for you, runs the ads for you through your Facebook account, okay? And it's all connected, and it optimizes for the best ad. It does it automatically for you. So it says, okay, hey, you know what? We have like 50 different kinds of ads here we created through our AI, and these 3 ads are doing very well. Let's focus on that. Let's put the budget on that. So it automates the management of the ads, but it also helps you build the ads themselves because it just prompts you, add an image, add a copy, add a headline, put the link here that you want to send them to, and it just simplifies it for you without going into the weeds. It does all the different kind of variants, all the different kind of split testing, and runs kind of the best campaign possible with their algorithm. Ad Espresso is super simple. I think it's about $49 a month if you're running an ad spend of $3,000 or less a month. Check them out. You can Google them. They're very easy to use. I've used them in the past. So Ad Espresso is a tool I highly recommend you use because it's going to allow you to not burn your money. It's going to allow you to get the most bang for your buck and create ads with ease. Okay? So, one more thing about paid marketing. This takes time. It takes some time to perfect your ads. You got to be willing to try it a few times, 3, 4, 5 times with small budgets like this. In total, I would say allocate $500 to $1,000 if you want to try paid marketing. because you're going to run, a few weeks of this, 5 or 6 weeks of this, of these small campaigns to see what's working. Okay. What we're trying to do here is we want to make sure that whenever we're spending to get and to acquire a customer, to acquire, let's say, a lead, first of all, let's say, for example, you're spending $3 a lead with a Facebook ad, right? And you, out of 10 leads from Facebook, you get 3 customers, okay? How much is a customer worth for you? Is a customer worth $500? That means that you got $1,500 after spending, $30 to acquire 10 leads. That's fantastic. So look at your overall ROI, not the number of sales or the number of leads that you get. See how much money you're investing and how much money you're getting through those leads. Okay, and Adespresso can help you kind of calculate all the conversions and things like that. Again, this is something that takes some time to perfect. There are agencies and industries and people that dedicate their whole career to paid marketing, and it's their whole life. We're not going to get into the weeds. We're not going to try to be one of those people. If you can hire out for that, that's fantastic. But if not, go with Adespresso. Start with a small budget. Allocate about $500, $1,000 so you can run a few weeks of tests to make sure that you're getting a ROI. All right, let's talk about homework. You're going to choose at least 3. Choose 3 to start with to implement. Which of these 3 are you going to implement right now, today, in your business so you can get automated leads? Whether it's adding an email in your email sequence, invite your audience automatically. You're going to start from home, add, on your website, on your navigation, that link to your registration page for your webinar. Are you going to team up, write a blog post, for your webinar? Choose 3 of these to start with. I want you to do it today. Some of these are quick and easy, and some of them are going to take a little bit more time, but choose 3, get started, make them happen. That's your homework. Choose 3 to start with and implement them for your homework, and I'll check you in tomorrow's video. We're almost there. Let's hang on. Let's do it. It's almost launch day. All right. I'll see you tomorrow.